Like so many things in their family's past, it started out gently, without fanfare, like a whisper at sunset, Janelle reflected. Robyn's entrance wasn't dangerous at first. She was courteous, calm, even gentle. She was given room by the other wives, Christine, Mary, and Janelle. They had previously witnessed women entering many marriages. They assumed this would be no exception. However, it was. Everything was different. Janelle recalled it like if it were an unhealed wound. Cody had declared that he was pursuing a new woman, his characteristic gleam in his eye. Robyn. She lived a few hours away. She was previously married and has children. He described her as spiritual. Nice. He couldn't stop talking about how beautiful it was. They had their own set of rules. During their courtship, the spouses had decided that Cody would limit his physical affection to what was appropriate and respectful to the family's feelings. It wasn't until their wedding that he gave Christine a kiss. Things were more formal and conservative with Mary and Janelle. With Robyn, however, something was different. That rule was broken by Cody. Before they were married, he gave Robyn a kiss. Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel TLC Flicks. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. He also didn't conceal it. Janelle learned about it during a producer's interview, where Cody made a subtly revealed confession on video. Christine had shed tears. Mary had stopped talking. Janelle had stood with her hands clasped in front of her, impassive. She didn't yell. She didn't dispute. Like she always did, she internalized it. However, something changed. It was more than just wooing. It was the result. Cody evolved. With time, he got increasingly unpredictable. He started showing up late to planned evenings with Christine and Janelle. Mary claimed that it had been years since she had felt an emotional bond with him. With Robyn, however, things were different. Cody stayed at her house for hours, then whole days. Then he seemed to live there. He began bringing her up in discussions that were unrelated to her. He reportedly told Janelle, "Robyn supports me emotionally," after a financial argument. During a heated family argument, he murmured, Robyn would have handled this better. Over time, the message became evident. Why are you unable to emulate Robyn? The injuries were minor cuts. An anniversary meal that was missed. A confessional remark that is both quiet and forceful. He had a lot going on, which Janelle later discovered was code for hanging out at Robyn's, so they had to postpone the trip with the kids. Nevertheless, Robyn persisted in being naive. Nice. When charged, I cry. The dynamics of the family always overwhelm me. However, Janelle noticed something that no one else would acknowledge. Robyn was the exception to every rule. Years went by. The family relocated. Children grew. And the partiality persisted. Ever the stoic, Janelle started to alter. She started to emotionally distance herself. Resignation replaced the intense optimism that everything will get back to normal. Then came a silent fury as the emotional scales swung too far. It's persistent but not explosive. Heavy. It was a long, gradual burn that transformed clarity into determination. Once standing outside their Flagstaff house beneath a full moon, she faced Cody in a low, heavy voice rather than in a screaming match. "Cody, do you see me anymore?" she asked. "Or are you simply anticipating that I will behave similarly to her?" Naturally, he was protective. Attributed it to the strain of their dual lives. However, the unspoken but indisputable truth lingered between them. He never loved the others the way he loved Robyn. He also wanted them to adapt to her preferences. Janelle declined. Christine also noticed it. She didn't try to hide her feelings by the time she departed. In a now-famous interview, Christine claimed, "I was never enough for him." And Robyn was, he clarified. During her own confessional, Robyn shed tears. "I didn't request the top spot. All I wanted was to be a member of a family." However, the other women no longer valued her tears. For too long, they had assumed the worst of her. Janelle too? She was finished. "I saw you profit from every single choice that caused us pain," Janelle remarked during a heated interview with Robyn that was captured on camera but never fully broadcast. "And you never defended us at all. You simply allowed him to elevate you." Years later, Janelle finally stated it clearly in a long-awaited tell-all. She spoke slowly and deliberately as she stated, Cody's courtship of Robyn wasn't just inappropriate. It crushed our family's spirit. We had guidelines. We were expecting. Everything he denied us, he gave her. And when did we ask it? They called us jealous. As bitter. As less. It was among the series' most unvarnished moments. Stunned, even the producers fell silent. I stayed because I believed in the family, Janelle went on. In the kids. In the idea. However, Cody no longer desired several marriages. He desired Robyn in 4 different guises. And I would never be like that. Cody did not downplay the truth in his own interview. Yes, he admitted, I fell in love with Robyn in a different way. I felt noticed. Fact. I allowed that to alter my interactions with the others. That might not have been fair. However, I had had enough of being treated disrespectfully. He attempted to use it to protect his feelings. But by that point, he had lost the family's and the audience's trust. The reality no longer frightened his wives. At last they were saying it out loud. Janelle is now self-sufficient. Her kids come around frequently. She goes outside. Gardening. Reading. I'm laughing. Rebuilding. She isn't quiet anymore. She said the things that people had been waiting years to hear in her last recorded solo interview. I used to love Cody. Profoundly. I had faith in us. But when someone wants to be crowned queen and expects the rest of us to bend down, you can't create a family. I will no longer do that. I am aware of who I am. Furthermore, I don't have to emulate Robyn. Then she smiles. The smile isn't resentful. It's a softer thing. Liberation. Janelle Brown is who I am. And at last, I'm making my own decision. Flagstaff was in late fall. A harsh reminder of how swiftly things can change and how something so lovely may portend the end of a journey. The leaves outside the family cottage had transformed into a blaze of fire-colored reds and oranges. It had been months since Janelle last saw Robyn and Cody together. However, they had all grudgingly decided to gather for a family meeting today. It had been pushed for by the producers. The children had pushed for it, particularly Gabriel and Gwendlyn. They sought clarification. No more tears. No more pointing fingers. The truth. Finalization. Responsibility. A big rustic table spanned the area inside the spacious cabin. Every look and every breath was recorded by the covertly positioned cameras in corners. Janelle was the first to arrive. Assured. Quiet. She strolled across the hardwood floors in boots that crunched and a jacket that was deep forest green. Robyn and Cody came together. She held on to his arm as if it were her lifeline. He had the appearance of a man preparing for battle. There was an electrifying feel to the air. Gabriel tightened his teeth and crossed his arms as he stood close to the hearth. Savannah sat next to him, her eyes furious yet red. Logan, Gwendlyn, and even Robyn's daughter Aurora were there. Gabriel, icily, let's be clear before everyone begins acting as though this is a case of miscommunication. We saw this family disintegrate. We watched you choose her, Dad. Over. And. Over. Cody started to speak, but Gabriel stopped him with a raised hand. Gabriel, when I sobbed because you missed my graduation, you told me to get over it. You claimed that family is messy, but isn't it? It is selective. Janelle firmly touched her son's arm. He took a seat. However, his agony lingered like smoke. Janelle turned and fixed Robyn and Cody with her gaze. Low and clear, Janelle. Do you still see me? I asked you that years ago. Then you couldn't respond. So respond right away. Cody shifted around. Cody, protective you were there, Janelle. I still do. However, I was drowning. You guys didn't help me when I needed it. The only one who, Robyn Janelle, severing his connection, provided you with the support you desired. She concurred with you. We put you to the test. Cody, that is not disrespectful. That is a collaboration. Her voice was firm as she turned to Robyn. Janelle, do you honestly believe that you gained his allegiance in a manner that we did not? Or did a man who needed someone to blindly revere him benefit you? Robyn appeared in disbelief. Then, quietly, Robyn being the favorite was never something I desired. From the rear of the room, Christine, however, you were. You also failed to halt it. Everyone looked at her. Despite her unassuming arrival, Christine's presence could not be denied. She had her chin up and stood tall. "Christine, you saw him leave our kids behind. You saw him make a comparison between you and us. And you allowed it to occur." Cody hit the table with a slam. "Cody, enough. You behave as though I influenced this family. As if I wanted it to collapse." "Janelle, no, Cody. You desired authority. And you found someone who permitted you when you were unable to manage us." She never raised her voice. However, it was burdened by decades. Something unreadable distorted Cody's face. Grief? Feeling guilty? Fury? "Cody," silently, "I had no idea how to show you all my love. I didn't succeed. However, I was sick of being the bad guy in everyone's tales." After a moment, Janelle says, "Then cease crafting the story as though you were the victim." Robyn burst into tears. She cried, "I've been trying to keep this family together. I never wanted to replace anyone." However, nobody hurried to console her. Not now. Aurora, who was sitting peacefully next to her, turned away as well. "Gwendlyn, you stated that in each season. However, you weren't just made the favorite. You agreed to it. Complicity is what that is. Quiet. A stillness that is too loud to endure." Janelle got to her feet. "Janelle, I came here not to yell. To escape the version of this family that never saw me. I came here." She looked at Robyn, then at Cody. "Janelle, you don't think of me after the fact. Your problem is not me. I will no longer be competing. I'm tired of living in a narrative in which Robyn is the main character and the others are merely circling trash." She glanced at her kids. "I'm picking us right now. Additionally, you are allowed to select any fantasy that helps you feel less guilty. However, we're finished." Cody sagged down on his seat. Robyn wiped away her tears and wept in silence. Neither one moved to console them. Janelle felt Christine's touch on her shoulder. Gabriel gave his mother a firm embrace. The youngsters came together, bound together by years of emotional wounds that had at last been publicly recognized. There was no conclusion. Just the facts. At last. The wind increased outside. The final chapter of denial closed inside. It had been 2 weeks since Janelle had broken the illusion in that living room. Because Christine stood behind her with unwavering fire. Because Robyn's cries were not heard. Additionally, Cody, who was once the head of a large family, was sitting in a heap that he had created. However, what followed was unexpected. Not from the wives, but from the kids. The first was Gwendlyn. At 2:12 a.m., she opened TikTok and made a record. Gwendlyn, who was sitting in a dark bedroom with fairy lights illuminating the background, didn't appear furious. She appeared to be finished. Gwendlyn, captured on camera, "I once believed that keeping quiet was the best course of action. For the sake of respect. For the performance. For my father. For Robyn. However, I'm no longer doing that." She took a breath. "Gwendlyn, my father desired submissive wives. He also used emotional neglect as a form of discipline when they failed to do so. He held Robyn to a level that none of us could match. Even his children." Overnight, the tape went viral. #CodyExposed began trending within hours. Gabriel's post was more angry than poetic. Gabriel, story on Instagram, he ceased making calls. Ceased to appear. All because we inquired. We didn't want to act as though Robyn was our new mother. Does that make us disobedient? Garrison remarks we didn't lose our dad. We saw him forsake his own family in favor of someone else's. A conflagration broke out. The Brown family's pages were inundated with hundreds of thousands of fans. Support for the children was overwhelming. For Christine. For Janelle. Not for Cody, though. Not for Robyn. Robyn appeared live on Cameo with trembling hands and a tearful face. She cried, "I didn't ask for this. I simply made an effort to love everyone. I was never the adversary." However, the remarks persisted. "You did nothing but watch it happen. Silence in the face of abuse is not a sign of love. You allowed him to erase his children." The following morning, TLC officials convened an urgent meeting. The problem was simmering inside. The ratings were soaring, but not in the direction they had hoped. Accountability was being demanded by fans. An email from a producer that was released said, "We must change the story. Kody emits radiation. Robyn's reputation is in ruins. The audience wants justice. No more gaslighting. The idea of stopping the filming was discussed. A spin-off including Christine and Janelle was advocated by some. Something else was subtly suggested by others, entirely cutting Kody off. He streamed live on YouTube. He had unkempt hair. His eyes were bloodshot. Kody, people who don't comprehend plural marriage are making me into a villain. I made an effort to raise a family. I made an effort to adore my spouses. Every one of them. He hesitated. Bitterly, Kody, however, some of my children contracted poisoning. By Christine. By Janelle. I was never respected by them. The remarks section was harsh. It wasn't the other way around. You failed them. Claiming your children? That is low. You desired obedience, not kinship. Kody received a formal notice from Christine's lawyer stating that he was responsible for paying back years' worth of unpaid debts, including for Truly's education. Janelle did the same. She made a more explosive assertion. According to her bank records, Robyn's $900,000 Arizona home was purchased with money that was embezzled from their joint family account, leaving Janelle and her children to rent a trailer on dirt. In a confidential interview, Janelle said, "He admitted to me that he was broke. Said that there was no more land available. However, he was constructing Robyn a kingdom. Now there were lawyers." TLC found itself in the center. The oldest and formerly quietest child, Logan Brown, issued a written statement. It went viral on Facebook. "We cherished our dad. We held him in high regard. We made several excuses. However, the family disintegrated when he put his commitment to one wife ahead of affection for everyone. We were kids. We were worthy of better. It's not a campaign of smears. That's the reality." Overnight, Robyn's jewelry business on Etsy collapsed. Kody's cameos decreased to almost nothing. Demands for a new format, Christine and Janelle Life After Kody, overwhelmed TLC. Supporters gathered around the adult children, providing employment, emotional support, and even financial assistance for Garrison's charitable endeavors. On podcasts, Gwendlyn started promoting the healing of family estrangement. People magazine interviewed Gabriel candidly. Janelle was sitting on her back porch, wrapped in a wool blanket, on a chilly Utah morning. Around her, the snow fell softly. As she sipped her hot tea, she looked through her phone and saw messages from her admirers, youngsters, and even complete strangers expressing gratitude for her voice. Her eyes were full of silent courage as she gazed up. Janelle, facing the camera, "My husband passed away. However, I discovered my voice. More significantly, I discovered my kids standing next to me." She hesitated. "Janelle, I have no regrets about leaving. I'm sorry I was silent for so long. And there's more." Sister Wives Season 19 ended with a shocking revelation. Robyn Brown is still alive and well, more prominent, more confident, and more unrepentant than ever after a season characterized by dysfunction, divorce, and distance. Robyn has quietly emerged as the final wife and possibly the one who received all she desired, while Mary, Christine, and Janelle are establishing new lives after Kody. What started out as a difficult time for Kody and Robyn has now changed into a new reality in which she is no longer hiding her part in the disintegration of the family. Robyn eventually acknowledged that she has always been Kody's preference during the Sister Wives Tell-All, Part 3. This was the main tension of the program for years since Kody's excessive focus on Robyn's needs and demands made his first 3 spouses feel ignored. Robyn acknowledged in the first few episodes of Sister Wives Season 19 that she was having trouble being faithful to one partner. The reality star claims that she wanted the ex-wives to reconcile with Kody so that they could once again be a cohesive team. But when that failed to materialize, she began to feel trapped in her marriage. All of her prior claims, however, were disproved during the tell-all when she admitted that she was, in fact, given preferential treatment over her former colleagues. Robyn acknowledged to host Sukanya Krishnan that she uses the baggage rack to store her items when she and Kody travel together. However, Kody would take the rack and Janelle and Christine's baggage would be left on the floor when they traveled with their shared spouse. The ex-sister wives claimed that because Kody was primarily concerned with his personal comfort, they felt extremely insulted during these times. But the fact that he acted differently toward Robyn was a clear indication of his prejudice. Fans couldn't help but notice Robyn's arrogant expression during the exchange. She made matters worse by downplaying the sentiments of her former sister spouses and asserting that it wasn't a significant issue. Robyn hasn't communicated with any of her former sister wives or their kids since their multiple family disintegrated, which further demonstrates that this was all an effort to evade attention. Robyn isn't attempting to hide the fact that she was always happy with the poisonous dynamic now that she knows things won't return to as they were. Robyn's ambition to be Kody's primary wife had been accomplished long before the divorces, as soon as Kody began putting her happiness ahead of his other families. Robyn no longer needs to act as though she doesn't know anything about it. The couple appears to be very content together in a May 2025 Facebook post that features them in Idaho Falls. Not to mention the couple's current residence, which is worth $2.1 million. Following the sale of their Flagstaff, California house in late 2024, the reality stars made the significant acquisition. They were said to have been forced to sell their house due to financial difficulties. They appear to be leading a rather good life, though, given that they earned a big profit on it and quickly acquired their current residence. They later bought their new 7,884 square foot home with 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms, which was a significant boost, after selling their previous residence for $1,775,000, according to In Touch. It's possible that Kody has fewer financial responsibilities now than he did in the past, because he solely appears to be providing for his and Robyn's family. In a Sister Wives Season 19 episode, Janelle talked candidly about the family's financial situation and disclosed that Kody frequently took money out of the family without notifying anyone. Although Janelle acknowledged that she was only the bookkeeper and that Kody had complete control, Kody wanted to present her as the one in charge of the family's finances. Due to Kody's poor financial management, Janelle and Mary battled for their rightful portion of Coyote Pass land, while Robyn was found to have spent a significant portion of their funds on her peculiar doll fetish. According to Ashley's Reality Roundup, the reality star spent $60,000 on accessories and collectible dolls in 2024 alone. Despite all the difficulties the rest of the family has faced, Robyn's odd interest has never exactly taken a backseat, as evidenced by the fact that the Etsy account that was purportedly hers is still active. Following his divorce from Mary, Janelle, and Christine, Kody Brown's monogamous devotion to Robyn Brown may appear to be a fresh start. But underneath that new arrangement, there's probably the same unstable reliance that caused his plural family to become unstable. This is because rejection, divorce, and estrangement forced Kody into monogamy rather than his choosing it because he developed emotional simplicity. That is definitely not a solution, and Robyn is now obviously carrying the emotional burden that was formerly shared by 4 women. What constitutes Kody's new marital arrangement? Fragile is a want to be seen, not a lack of affection. He had several mirrors thanks to polygamy. If one wife questioned him, another would support him. Intimacy was restored by another if it had been rejected. His identity was nourished by that never-ending cycle of comfort, chaos, and control. Despite her devotion, Robyn is unable to simultaneously reflect all of that. Even worse, she is now solely responsible for maintaining Kody's emotional self-worth, which has never been able to support itself. Although it's a high-maintenance spouse arrangement, Kody's decades-long identity is currently collapsing structurally. Kody is at a stage in his life where he is unsure of how to be himself without approval from others. Therefore, Kody can be left without a backup plan if Robyn falters, tires, disagrees, or even marginally withdraws. No turning, no buffer. And that can be a little challenging to get used to at this age. It won't be shocking if the audience witnesses Robyn, who at one point appeared to be the most emotionally stable wife, losing her composure in the event of a future series. Throughout the previous season, she used coded language about loss and allegiance, defensive defenses, and nervous tears in her confessional moments. These aren't indications of a lady enjoying a one-on-one relationship. Rather, they show someone preparing for collapse while attempting to maintain composure, or even just feeling guilty. She is, after all, not only providing for her husband, but also a broadcast legacy that has already lost its foundation, and she likely holds herself somewhat responsible for it. However, Kody's interpretation of monogamy may also be based on a lack of emotional development and restitution. Naturally, until that necessary maturity arrives, It would be an attempt to regain control after losing the others, at least initially. But cutting back on participation doesn't address a fundamental inequity that, if anything, focuses the dysfunction. Misaligned needs have been the subject of every Sister Wives season, and this one is no different, albeit with a greater focus. Although Cody may now use monogamous rhetoric, his actions, emotional outbursts, control problems, and animosity toward his ex-wives show that his inner landscape hasn't altered. In plurality, his identity was forged. Now that it's gone, Robyn's waning patience is the only thing firmly establishing his sense of self. Furthermore, she can't bear that burden indefinitely. The reality is that Cody's wants are constructed in accordance with his accustomed practice of having several women. Therefore, this version of their marriage may not be durable because, although it is a partnership, it is also a survival pact, supported by a shared fear of becoming irrelevant, seeming foolish, or acknowledging that the dream did not work out. But that just takes into account what has transpired in their lives thus far. It's feasible for Cody and Robyn to have a happy ending and create a happily ever after, but only if they're prepared to work on improving themselves, especially Cody. A polygamous family is no longer being shown on the show. It chronicles a gradual emotional breakdown that is masquerading as monogamy. With any luck, they and their extended family will develop the maturity needed to take in that implosion and turn it into a positive force. Let us know in your comments. And stay tuned by subscribing our channel to get more updates like this. Thanks everyone.